Hey folks, I've got for you a special treat with a very supportive mother. Her name is Fiona Long, and she is the mother of an artist that's been well known during his life, Matt Long, who sadly passed away at the age of 29. So Fiona, thank you for taking the time to come to my show.
Thank you for having me.
I got attracted by Catfish, and she's the executive producer and also the mother of Mr. Long.
That's right.
So, Time to Fly, that was released as a posthumous tribute to your son. And that was released...
Well, no, that was the final Catfish album. So, yes, it was released after Matt died. But
Okay.
not particularly as a tribute. There is a separate album that's being released as a tribute.
Okay.
Which we can perhaps talk about in a minute. So I'm just getting myself to a place where I can talk to you. Okay, there we go. So yes, Time to Fly was partly recorded before Matt died, so there's about 3 or 4 tracks on there that had already been recorded at the time. And then there was some that we found on his phone after he died. So there's some partially recorded tracks and some lyrics. And so my husband, who was also in the band with Matt, he was a keyboard player. He is also a BBC sound engineer, or has been all his working life. So he managed to put these other tracks together based on these partially written songs that were on Matt's phone that his wife found after he died.
Mm-hmm.
So it was quite a labour of love, really, in many ways. Very difficult thing to do, but it came out incredibly well, really. There's some beautiful songs on there.
Okay, so tell us about the new album. Who's currently on this album?
On the tribute album, the one that's about to come out, is a series of people who are at the top of their game, really, in the UK. There's people like, and also in America, there's guitar parts from Joe Bonamassa and Walter Trout. And then there's also people like Els Bailey, When Rivers Meet, Don Martin. There's a lot of people in the UK who are huge people, big names in the UK.
Okay.
And they've all taken a track each, basically.
Okay.
And these are all songs that were Catfish songs, so things that Matt has written in the past. Each of the artists involved has put their own spin on it, really, so each of them has made it their own, which has been really exciting to see, actually. It's made it a very, very special album for us. I mean, it's come out way, way better than we thought.
Well, I'm glad for that. When is it due to be released?
It's due to be released on the 20th of March. But it's on pre-release at the moment, so there's obviously quite a lot already been sold. But yeah, 20th of March it comes out, and there's several singles that have been released already, and a couple more to come. Okay. So I can give you a full list if you want of the people who are on it. I've got that now in front of me.
Yeah, if you'd like.
Okay, so obviously Joe Bonamassa and Walter Trout have guitar parts or guitar solos on 2 tracks where we've actually kept Matt's original vocal on. So it's almost as if he's playing with them, which has been really lovely. And then also we have Els Bailey, Paul Jones, the Janelli Brothers, Blue Nation, Sean Webster, When Rivers Meet, Brave Rival, Will Wilde, Zach Schultz, Alice Armstrong, I think you've already played. Don Martin, Chantal McGregor, Katie Bradley, and then also Matt's best friend from music college, who is a vocalist with Avantasia metal band, a girl called Adrienne Cowan, and then also 2 of his guitar tutors from his music college, a chap called Nick Mayer, who used to play with the Jeff Beck band, and Nat Martin, who plays with Toya Wilcox. So, it's a really stellar group of people. So, yeah, we've been incredibly lucky to get them all on side. A lot of these people have become friends friends of the band over the years because, you know, we've been on the same greasy pole, if you like, of the UK blues scene, and been doing the same festivals and, you know, playing the same venues. So yeah, it's been lovely, the response, and I think it's partly because, bless him, Matt was such a lovely guy. It's not just about the fact that he was a good guitarist and, you know, a great front man. It was that he was actually a genuinely really lovely guy, and I think that's helped to get all these people behind this project.
Oh, that's good. That's very good. Now, I'd like to know, when did you notice Matt's interest in wanting to play blues?
Well, the blues, I think, was partly because my husband Paul, as I said, was a BBC sound engineer and then a music producer after that. He used to work on the Paul Jones Blues Show on Radio 2, which is, you know, our quite a big radio station over here, the BBC Radio. Mm-hmm. And he had a blues show once a week, and Paul was the producer. So that really meant that he was the one who got all the albums sent to him, and then he would have to go through and listen. Like hundreds of albums would arrive, and it's quite a responsibility really to go through and try and find the diamonds in amongst all the pile of not very good blues stuff.
That's true.
But in amongst all that, he once found an album which obviously is pretty well known now, called Slow Gin by Joe Bonamassa. And he said to Paul Jones's show, I'm sure he won't mind me saying this, was tended to be fairly traditional, you know, 1920s, 30s, 40s kind of blues. And you didn't play a great deal of new stuff. And then, so he took a bit of persuading, but Paul managed to persuade him to play the title track, Slow Gin. He said, you have to play this, it's amazing. And that helped in a way to break Joe Bonamassa into the UK, because he was, you know, doing pretty well in America, but he was still playing fairly small venues over here. And I think that gave him a little bit of a leg up into the next level of venue. And then, of course, the following year he was in the Albert Hall, so it really did make a massive difference to the audience over here. So we were lucky enough that after that, Joe quite often would give us free tickets to his shows, so we would be able to go with Matt. And it was at the first time he played at the Albert Hall, we were in the audience, and Matt, I suppose, was about 14 or 15, and then he got up after the show. He loved Bonamassa, that was his big idol, and he got up and said, that's what I want to do for a living. He said, I want to go to music college and I want to play the guitar for a living. So, and he was deadly serious. That's what he ended up doing. Of course, he went to music college and became a band member and a frontman. So it was all down to Bonamassa.
Well, that's astounding. His style is, to be frank, it's impossible to copy. He has a certain thing that only he could embody on the Time to Fly album and some of the previous albums, which attracted me very much to do this particular interview. So with that happening, him going to college, which was for 2, 3, 4 years of study?
3 years, yeah.
3. After that, he decided to found Catfish with a bunch of fellow band members, from what I understand.
Well, actually, it was he had 2 bands when he was at college.
Okay.
Both of them kind of fell over at about the same time for various reasons. They just fell apart.
Okay.
And he was a bit adrift, to be honest. And my husband said, well, in the meantime, while you're thinking about your next band, why don't we just go and do some blues gigs? And so we used to go down to a blues jam on the south coast, and, you know, there was people of all ages there, from, you know, about Matt's age and above, and then right the way through to the old guys with, you know, with their old guitars that's slightly out of tune and that kind of thing. It was a complete range of abilities, but really good fun. And Matt used to quite enjoy going down there because people used to make a big fuss of him because he was very good at his guitar. And so yes, we met a lot of people through that. And so when this happened with the other bands, Paul said, well, let's just go and find a drummer and a bass player from the Jam, and just go and play some pubs around the south coast and see what happens, not expecting anything to come of it. And then I said, why don't you go into the studio and record basically a live album, and it'll give me something to take to the venues, because I used to do the booking for the band. And I said it'd be really useful to have something, a CD that I can leave with them, and they can go and listen in their own room and, you know, decide whether they want the band in the pub. And that was literally how this started. And so that sure enough, they went into the studio, absolutely first take live, you know, did it all in a day, and put together what turned out to be the first album, which was called So Many Roads, which was all blues covers, all standards.
Mm-hmm.
And it got picked up by the Independent Blues Broadcasters Association, which is a group of internet DJs, basically. And through that, Paul Jones on the Radio 2 Blues show found out about it as well and played it on his show. And the phones just went into meltdown. You know, people were asking us to do festivals, and, you know, blues clubs all over the country asked us to go and play there. And it suddenly went from, you know, playing the pub at the end of the road to playing some pretty large festivals, and then the following year European festivals as well. So it sort of took a whole different direction to what we were expecting.
Mm-hmm.
And then it became an originals band that started writing original material, and then took on its own set of legs, if you like, and became Catfish. So yeah, so it's strange how things happen, isn't it?
So tell me about how they came about for the name, because Catfish is for me, I'm French Canadian, and the catfish is what we see mostly in bottom of lakes and on side dishes, depending if they've got blackened catfish out of Louisiana. So how did they come about with the name?
Well, obviously you probably know this, but there's a very famous blues tune called Catfish Blues,
Mm-hmm.
which is, it's a standard blues that we used to play a lot at the jams. And we got a booking for a pub somewhere or other, and they wanted a name, they wanted a band name, so I just went Catfish, and thought that'll do for now.
And it stuck.
So, and it stuck. So, you know, once you've got it, it's quite hard to then change it halfway through. So, we just stuck with it.
Yeah, that's true, because we've got a band that's two bands that I know that decided to do slight changes on their name. We've got our own the Powder Blues Band. It was known as the Powder Blues Band, and now just went Powder Blues. And then we've got a band here in New Brunswick where I'm at, Moncton, that actually decided to change their band name to something shorter, because it was a long name. But they got some success, but they couldn't do a living out of it. They did some tours, but they all kept their jobs, and they decided to move on after things weren't as solvent as possible for economic reasons.
Yeah. It's very hard to make a living in music, especially now.
It is. Yes, it is.
People are used to being able to download for free.
Yeah.
And so it's quite hard now to sell your music to people. You know, a lot of people don't even have CD players anymore, and sometimes they'll buy vinyl, that kind of thing. But
Mm-hmm.
it's increasingly hard, and you have to also add things like T-shirts and badges and whatever.
Hoodies, vests, coats, hats.
Yeah. Exactly. So it's actually quite hard to earn what you or I would call a living out of music now, unless you get to a stratospheric level, which not many people do. So yeah, I mean, a traditional band like ours, they did pretty well, but even that I wouldn't call a proper living wage that we got out of it. So
Did Matt ever decide to do some teaching on the side while he was doing his gigs and touring?
he did try it, but he picked a slightly difficult student because there was this incredible guitarist, aged about 13 or 14 at the time we met him, called Marcus Prescott Stevens, who he actually came up to Matt after he'd played a gig. When we first met him, he was 12, and his little voice came up to him and said, "I play guitar, and I thought I'd really like to come and play with you." And we said, "Well, why don't you come to our next gig, which is fairly local, and you can come up for one song." Not having heard him play, so no expectations. And of course, 12-year-old kid, you're expecting him to be not very good. He got on stage and completely melted the place. It was absolutely incredible.
Wow.
And then he asked Matt if he would give him lessons. Of course, he knows almost, but at that stage, almost as much as Matt does about playing the guitar. So it was quite difficult to actually teach him anything he wasn't already aware of. So I think Matt found that quite difficult. And so he didn't really follow through on the teaching.
Okay.
So, but he was, he was lucky in a way because, I say lucky. My mum died while he was at college, and left him some money, so he was comfortable without having to earn a living, if you like. There was a little bit of money to keep him going until he finished college. So, and then the income from Catfish kept him going. So.
Okay.
We were the parent support net.
And also, you're the executive producer for Matt. Did you actually follow him to all of his gigs?
No, I was basically managing the band from home a lot of the time. So I used to occasionally go to the gigs. I did go and do the merch desk and things like that. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's quite useful to be at festivals, for example, because that's where the other people who run their own blues clubs tend to gather to see who's out there and who they like and who they want to book for next year. So if you've got somebody being there, actually at the time, if people come up with their card to the band, they can go and talk to Fiona without having to worry about dealing with all that side of it. So, that was quite useful, especially in the early days. But yes, I mean, I produced this album, the tribute album, because somebody had to pull all the bits together, if you like. It's turned into a double album. They just got bigger and bigger, and I was expecting maybe an EP or possibly a single album, and it's now 16 tracks. Which is lovely. I mean, it's incredible, as I say, how many people of the stature that we've got have given their time, and it's all been done for nothing as well. It's all going to the charity. So all the money raised is going to the hospital where Matt was looked after, to the cancer ward, so they can spend it on new stuff to help the current cancer patients.
Okay. Well, that's a plus.
As I said, it's the only way I can think of to make some sense out of what's happened. At least if we can make other people's cancer journey a little bit less awful, it'll feel as though some good has come out of an awful situation, losing Matt. So. Yeah.
During his life, did he show any interest in hobbies, or was music the only thing that he had on his mind?
Pretty much the only thing, yeah. He enjoyed travelling. A lot of the travel was done with Catfish. Obviously, he was touring quite a bit through Europe, and he played a festival in the States as well. So there would have been probably more of that, but he did quite enjoy just travelling for fun as well. But yeah, I mean, say he was pretty obsessive about the guitar, so he would take himself off to his room and play for hours and hours and hours. I mean, the only other thing he did was gaming. He used to as any teenage stroke early 20s guy, he loved his gaming.
Oh, good. Well, that's good. So he kept himself busy, basically, and also did compositions that are unique to Catfish.
Yeah.
Now, all that touring and all that creation leaves a mark on blues history, or any music history, really. And the fact that your son lives on in the internet, and also in the fact that there's still people that know him locally in the UK. I'm a Canadian, and I got to know more about it by reading the band's bio and everything else. And now I've got you, which is even twice the joy, because it makes it real. It's not an AI fiction. It's not somebody inventing something. It's an actual person who actually left lots of memories, lots of love, lots of cherishing. And you're one heck of a mother to actually have embodied your son and gave him wings to soar with, and he actually made something lasting.
Thank you. Well, we did our best. My husband did exactly the same thing, actually, when he came through college. When he finished school at 16 and went to music college. So it wasn't as though we could turn around and say no to him, to Matt, because it's exactly what his dad had done. So it was lovely that we were able to give him that opportunity.
There's nothing much I can actually ask, because you've answered all the questions, but there is one question that I'd like to ask. You may find it a little bit loopy, but I ask it to everyone, and this includes you. If your son was alive, I'd be asking the same question to him. What was his favorite food dish?
His food dish?
Now, by that, I mean, if you gave him a choice of foods, it would be a food that he would always pick first, and always pick it when it was made available.
Right. His favourite was probably a Greek dish called gyros. It's basically chicken with all sorts of odds and ends in it, but you can only get the really decent ones in Greek restaurants. And there was a wonderful Greek restaurant not very far from where his fiancée at the time, who became his wife, lived, up in Carlisle, and that was always where he would go. The second favourite would have been steak, because he loved a good steak.